Hello and welcome to Chatz, a television podcast, the TV book club hosted by two best friends. This is season 18, Toon Couch, Toon Madness. Bonk, bonk. Hit me on the bonk. Listen, what's zanier than trying to pick our next chat season from a huge pile of 64 different animated series? The series themselves, of course. My name is Magellan, and I'm joined by a robot who's not afraid to show their naked metal butt. It's Allen.
He's sassy with it. Oh my god. I don't know, when is the last time you hosted a episode? That is beautiful work.
Oh, thanks. I think it was Couch Madness. Before we did Xena. Or no, didn't wait, who did Xena, the Xena intro?
Warrior Chatzums. I remember doing that.
Yeah, it was you. Yeah.
So you must have done Couch
Xena
Madness.
Warrior
Or at least maybe
Chatzums,
we
yeah.
alternated on Couch Madness. Regardless, I love your intros.
Yeah.
That was so good.
Thank you. We're doing a new thing, everybody. You may have listened to our episode 0 last week where we explained the format of this season and what it is we're trying to accomplish with it. But if you didn't listen to that, or you did but you forgot, or whatever, let me orient you to what you're listening to now. So this is kind of a sequel season. You don't have to listen to the first version of this, though. But it's essentially us taking a bunch of different television programs, pitting them against each other in order to decide what is going to be the next subject of one of our podcast seasons. This particular part of Toon Couch, Toon Madness is what we're kind of calling the division phase. So we're designing these programming blocks of series that in some ways resonate with each other. And within those divisions, we'll watch an episode or two of 8 shows, figure out one of them that's going to make it onto kind of a playoff bracket at the end of the season. So this today is the first week of our Cartoon Network daytime division, which has 8 series in it. And the first 4 within that division are that we watched an episode of for today are Ed, and Eddy, Regular Show, Steven Universe, and Whatever Happened to Robot Jones. So we're going to watch, or we did watch, we're going to discuss the first episodes of each of those 4 programs today. And by the end of the episode, we'll pick 2 that will get to kind of the last round of this division before one of them goes on to the bracket.
Yes, indeed. And then that bracket itself will be so epic, so huge, so massive, so goated that whatever wins that bracket will indeed, as you said, become the next full season of Chatz. So we've got a lot of work to do here in the arena.
That work in this episode will follow this flow. We'll talk about kind of general thoughts and feelings about this slate of episodes. We'll take each one by one, the way that we would normally talk about an episode of TV for the show. Then we'll put it all together. And you had an idea that I thought was really cool. Do you want to tell folks one of the things that we'll do kind of with all the shows when we discuss them?
Yeah, essentially, like, can we make a programming block out of this? And, like, how would we sort the programming block? How would we order it? Because, like, I was watching these shows, and none of them aired at the same... well, there was probably overlap of, like, with seasons. Like, I think Ed and Eddy was still on when Robot Jones was on, for example. And Regular Show and Steven Universe were on at the same time at some point. But then their premieres were not at the same time. But, like, I like to imagine, what if, you woke up... because you watch these on Saturday morning. What does an ideal Saturday morning block of the shows in question look like? How would we order that? Why would we order it the way we did? Because I also, Whatever Happened to Robot Jones is such a... we'll talk about it. It's such a... it feels late. It feels like it's a nighttime show, which is so interesting. Like, what is this? And that's kind of how it felt for us when we originally experienced it, which I think will affect also how we define our programming block. It's like, where did this make sense in our head?
Yeah. So we'll sort of sequence how we think they fit. And then each of us by the end of this episode will pick one of these 4 shows to go into that kind of last round of the division. So each of us is going to kind of champion one of these as our
Mm.
fave. So let's start with general thoughts. Is there anything that came up for you either in like preparing to watch these or in watching them and starting to see connections between them? Anything that came up for you um, as kind of like big picture before we dive into specific series?
Yeah, I really enjoyed setting aside some time this week
Hmm.
and just kind of like blasting through all of these. Um, Something really unique about Western cartoons from this era, especially the Cartoon Network section, is it feels like they are set. These are being sold to a network, which they were. That's how
Hmm.
pilots work. So pilots have always worked, but like really, 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 these are little stories that can totally be standalone and are fun and entertaining on their own and have their jokes. And in a lot of ways, for these shows, which you and I have watched at least 3 of the 4 of them beyond these episodes that we watched today.
Hmm.
It's so interesting seeing the house style start to form. And when you're a kid, you didn't think about like this being season 1, episode 1 of Ed and Eddy. It just seemed like it was another
Hmm.
episode. Maybe the
Hmm.
animation was a little bit different, but now as I think of it as a pilot, I'm like, oh wow, they did a lot of like really explicit and like intentional work to make the characters make sense, and the music and the vibes and the sound of each of these series kind
Hmm.
of sets itself up really nicely and cleanly. So I just enjoyed watching like cartoon pilots from that era when pilots were so important to getting a show sold.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. It probably more so than some of the divisions we'll look at later, for me anyway. Most of these were shows that I, yeah, like you said, have seen us well, I don't know if how much of Robot Jones I've seen, but there's not much of it to see.
Yeah.
But Ed, and Eddie and Steven Universe, I've certainly seen a substantial amount of both of those.
Hmm.
And so there was that kind of like I'm remembering what it was like to watch this when I didn't have that bird's eye view, and I have that bird's eye view, and especially for Ed, Edd n Eddy and Robot Jones, which are shows that I watched when I was, you know, 8, like 7, 8, 9. I think it's easier to understand them as a thing that somebody made, and as kind of a series of decisions, and be able to appreciate it on that level, which
Yeah.
was a lot of fun.
Let's talk about them.
Let's do it. So we could, I think there's one of two orders that's like fair, um, either alphabetical order or chronological order.
Hmm.
Um, I watched them in release order, but what do you have a preference or a thought about what order we should talk about them in?
My only concern with chronological is if it gives any unfairness to like one or the other, and if it's like, well, we just talked about this, but I do personally prefer chronological. I think that makes the most sense.
Okay. I think let's do that. And then we can decide in retrospect if we want to do something different for future weeks.
Sure.
Okay, so the first of the four in chronological order then would be Ed, Edd n Eddy, which premiered in 1999. We watched episode 1 of season 1, which is a combination of two stories, The Ed Touchables and Nagged to Ed. Now, for all of these, we usually do writer credits and director credits. I also included storyboard artist credits, partially
Hmm.
because that was credited in the Wikipedia stuff. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. We should do that too. So I have a lot of names to read here. The Ed Touchables was written by John O'Howard and Danny Antonucci, who's the creator of the show. Storyboarded.
Boy, 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 boy.
Hey, send me the storyboards. Storyboarded by Billy Zietz, Conrad Schmidt, Leah Waldron, Karen Lloyd, and Rob Boitlier or Boitlier, I don't know. Directed by Danny Antonucci. Nag to Ed was written by Mike Kubat, Jono Howard, and Danny Antonucci. Storyboarded by Jerry Fournier and Jeff Barker, and directed by Danny Antonucci. The episode aired on January 4th, 1999 on Cartoon Network. Alan, what happened in the Ed Touchables and Nagged to Ed?
In this episode, starting things off, Double D's magnifying glass and Sarah's doll goes missing. So the Eds think there is a serial toucher stealing people's belongings. And in Nag to Ed, Lee, May, and Marie Kanker, collectively known as the Kanker sisters, lure Ed, and Eddy into their trailer park home. Wow. These were fascinating episodes to start this off with, Magellan. I am so excited. I want to start these off and talk about our history with Ed and Eddy because I very much grew up with this show. I know I'm acknowledging that bias early on. I mentioned in episode 0 that I had episodes of Ed and Eddy recorded on a hand tape recorder that I would hold up to my TV and listen back to in bed because they were so funny just from the audio perspective. Which is like such an origin story if there ever was one, right?
Yeah.
And I loved this show. I definitely fell off around, I think, is it the 3rd season? The season where they go to school and the animation style changes dramatically was when I realized I was growing out of it, and also I didn't have as much time for it, and then like the writing style changed. I still think there's probably funny episodes in that chunk, but I think I'm with most like millennial Ed and Eddy fans, which is to say I watched the early seasons and loved them, and then I stopped caring even after the movie, which resolves the plots of Ed and Eddy. Like, who is Eddy's brother? That's answered, baby. We're getting answers.
The thing that's like really sad about hearing you talk about falling off of Ed and Eddy when it got to its 3rd season and it's like they went to school, like you were in 2nd grade when, if you're watching it like as it's coming out. And there's just something sad about like I just got really busy because you're like getting fed into the meat grinder of school.
Oh wait, no. 3rd season's still good. 4th season even. I'm trying to see, when do they go to school then? What season is it 5? It must be.
I don't know, maybe.
So okay, yeah, it is season 3. No, I'm sorry. Season 4 is the last one that I watched. Season 4. So ending in like
season February. Okay, so season 5,
November 2004. Season 5, I did not watch. I didn't realize.
Okay, so you were like 4th, 5th grade at that point.
Yeah, so I'm like getting ready, like almost ready to go to middle school. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm really, and it's less that like life was busy. It's just so these shows were in syndication, ended up in a form of syndication. I don't know if it's the same way that we think about like serial drama syndication, because Ed and Eddy only had 77 episodes, but like Cartoon Network had this tendency to almost create like a multiverse with its cartoons and like stuff that aired in '99. Those characters were interacting in the commercials with shows from 2004. So like everything felt kind of timeless. It didn't feel like a show from 1999 to me. It just felt like a show I was watching probably all the way into like 07, 08, like not even caring if these episodes are new or reruns or what. I just watched them. I didn't even know what was season 1, what was season whatever. So yeah, that's also worth noting, is like it might not have been when I was in 4th, 5th grade. It may have been sooner, it may have been later. I don't know when I stopped watching.
Yeah.
What about you? I know you have an interesting history with the show.
Yeah, this show, my mom was like pretty laissez-faire about a lot of stuff, but then every once in a while she would just sort of notice something about like a video game or a show and be like, I don't love that, so you can't watch that or play that anymore. And I don't begrudge her that, because I can imagine as a parent, it's like, how do you manage that? And we were kind of experiencing like a volume of media and information that I'm sure our parents were like completely unprepared for happening in our childhoods. But there were 2 cartoons that my mom was like, you can't watch those shows because they're too dumb. One of them was SpongeBob SquarePants, and one of them was Ed and Eddy. And she was not wrong. Like, both of those shows are kinda dumb, but, I was like, "Ah, well, I'll just watch Etta and Eddy, at my dad's house when I visit him over the summer." So this show is, like, completely confined to it's the summertime, I'm across the country, and I've got basically the whole day to myself to, like,
Yeah.
watch Cartoon Network. Um, and,
It's so
like,
funny.
all the cul-de-sac kids, like, they're kind of either on summer break or school doesn't exist or something, or they're in a purgatory liminal space, if you believe
Hmm.
those kinds of theories. So yeah, it occupies this really strange kind of liminal space in my own life and memory. Uh, and I remember really enjoying it, but also being like, "Ah, this is kind of stupid." Like, my mom's right. Like, I don't know if I would have um, been so invested in seeking it out and watching it if I wasn't told that I couldn't.
Right. That's so
But
often
yeah,
how the case with any sort of media is when your parents like explicitly choose to try and hold, or anyone tries to withhold it from you, be it the media, the government, or your parents. Then you're like, well, that must be interesting. I want to seek that out. We talked a lot in like
right. It
our
must be really good.
in elementary middle school. We got our list of like banned books, and we were like, oh my god, I got to read the banned
Yeah.
book. That felt so important to me when I was a kid. And then here's the funny thing, right? Is as a young adult, I was like, wait, why the hell did I care about banned books? And now as a grown adult, I'm like, no, I actually really care that we banned books. That's like actually the most important thing in our culture. Yeah, that's really cool that you like got to experience the show as like forbidden media and in your the winding hours of summer when
Mhm.
you like the Ed Boys were whiling away the hours.
Yeah.
So what's like the setup? I guess Ed and Eddy, for folks who don't know, we've got three boys, your classic Ed, who is the big, tall, dumb one who has a funny voice and like
Mhm.
speaks in nonsense words and is preternaturally powerful. You have Ed with two D's, also known as Double D, who is
Mhm.
extremely anxious and anal retentive and is sort of the brains of the operation. And then we have Eddy, who is the conniving, money seeking, let's have fun, let's go do something stupid, short king of
Mhm.
the group. And the three of
Mhm.
them take it upon themselves to, in this case, solve a mystery, or they have some money making scheme. They're always in seek of things like jawbreakers and candy and money and jobs and stuff like that. Whatever kids do in the summer,
Mhm.
they look for snacks and they look for quick ways to
Mhm.
do something that's novel and fun. Um, and the Ed Touchables really feels like a pilot, right? Like it
Mhm.
has some of the things that I imagine your mom didn't love, which is like the idea of a toucher, right? The serial toucher is the writers being like, the kids are not going to get this, but the
Mhm.
adults are going to think this is weird. And
Yep.
it's like, what? There's someone touching. And then, Eddie goes on the megaphone and says there's a serial toucher on the loose. And you're like, okay, I get the joke here, guys. You're making like a
Mhm.
pedophile joke. And that's kind of fun. That's like a little funny, but also, yeah, I get why some parents would be like, what? No, you can't watch a show where they try to catch the pedophile. That's crazy. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, he's just literally physically touching stuff. It's a mystery with no resolution, just like Chinatown. It's got torture. It's got it's got mystery. It's got romance. It's got drama. This episode has everything. And it segues into one of the most fascinating discussions of gender and gender norms I've ever
Mhm.
seen in a cartoon. I was like watching that one gripping. I was watching Nag to Ed Magellan gripping the sides of my sofa. Like, oh my god, this we found podcast bait. It's crazy. This episode is
Mhm.
crazy.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, this series, something I was reflecting on in watching it, I just recently visited, it was on my dad's side, my aunt's 70th birthday, and my
Yeah.
dad's one of 6 siblings. So there are a bunch of aunts and uncles on that side. They're around the age of Danny Antonucci, the creator of the
Mm-hmm.
show. And something that struck me in talking to them, they were reminiscing about experiences from when they were kids, and uh, a lot of it was like the youngest of them is my other aunt, and the time that she was learning how to ride her bike and they had put like blocks on the pedals so that she could reach the pedals because she was still a little kid. And then she was like, take them off my bike, I'm ready to bike without the blocks. And they were like, okay. And this is, 10-year-old supervising a 5-year-old or something. And then she like zooms down the hill and crashes into a muddy creek under a bridge, and all the neighbor kids are there like laughing at the situation. Um, and she's recounting this story, and it's kind of funny, and it's kind of like, this was a really shitty thing that happened to me. And a thing she kind of kept saying was like, and in all of this, I just don't know, where was my mother? Um,
Yeah.
and like my grandma was a homemaker, so she wasn't at the office or something. Um, but the thing was, all right, kids, eat your breakfast now. Get out of my house, and dinner's at 6, and like go exist out there. Um, and it was a really interesting experience, I think, watching in retrospect. I don't think I was quite this aware of it at the time, but watching Ed, and Eddy in the late 90s, early 2000s, and sensing that maybe there were like bits and pieces of my childhood that were kind of like this. Like I
Hmm.
definitely played outside with friends and that sort of thing. Um, but my childhood more substantially was the experience of watching Ed, Ed and Eddy,
Right.
or being inside playing a video game, or whatever. And it was also the way that I would sometimes interact with my mom or my stepdad or my dad, where they're like, go, like, what are you kids doing inside all day? Like, go outside or something, like, be outside, be whatever.
Yeah. Go do
And it's
something.
like, motherfucker, you didn't have Age of Empires. You
Yeah.
had like 2x4s that you drew a face on. So there's something really fascinating, I think, about Ed, Ed and Eddy, which is this show that's like made for kids by someone who understands the kid way of experiencing the world, but is still sort of like enacting a version of childhood that was this kind of late boomer, early Gen X version of childhood, and not the version of childhood that we got in the 90s and 2000s, which was very like post Stranger Danger,
Yeah.
uh, rise of all sorts of different media technologies, etc.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know if any of that kind of came up for you as you were watching, or what your feeling is about like the cul-de-sac as an environment, as a place.
Yeah, I think you said this in your notes, but it made this show made aspects of being outside seem really fun, which I think
Hmm.
was part of the goal, right? Like a lot of the Cartoon Network shows were about like telling a story and communicating an idea, but also just like teaching you something or making you
Hmm.
think something. I remember around this era in the 2000s, Nickelodeon had a day where they just didn't put on programming. They just put on like a screensaver all day because it was for like kids to go outside. It's literally like
Hmm.
Nickelodeon said go outside today. And that was their bad campaign to be like, hey, you know, we want you to be inside watching our shows and consuming our media, but also you should do what the kids in these shows do and like maybe go play, and that's good for
Yeah.
you. So Ed and Eddy feels like it's both letting you sit inside and enjoy watching other kids play outside, and then also in turn hopefully making you want to be outside and just like experiment. But it's coming at you in this era where like Cartoon Network is making all of these things that make me want to stay inside, like the Cartoon
Hmm.
Network website and all the commercials having all this multiverse. So I was like, I don't want to get away from the TV. I was raised on this shit, and I wasn't
Hmm.
I wasn't a big outdoors kid. I wasn't a big club kid. My parents came to this country and didn't speak a lot of English, so they did not feel safe for a long time
Hmm.
letting me like run outside. I would be in the yard a lot. I remember lots of hanging out in the yard, but like I
Hmm.
wasn't going down the street. So like when we went to a family friend's house and they lived near a cul-de-sac, it was novel to me. I was like, whoa,
Hmm.
that's a cul-de-sac. That's like the thing where Ed and Eddie
Like on the
happened.
TV. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So like, and or like you were saying, it's like when you first saw Jawbreaker in real life, and you're like, that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw Jawbreakers in Ed, Edd n Eddy before seeing a real one, and I think I thought that they were, like, a made up thing, and
Yeah.
obviously they're, like, big as their heads in the cartoon,
Uh huh.
but, like, I vividly I'm a 32-year-old person, I vividly remember 5th grade somebody had a jawbreaker this big, um, sitting on their desk on top of a piece of paper towel, and they were like taking licks of it throughout the day. And that was cool. Like that was like, oh my god, it's like the TV show.
It's a candy that's meant to last all day, which is something gross
Yeah,
about it. But like, yeah, it could get
so
your value.
gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, right? And I think this is gonna come up a lot, especially in this division of the bracket, but like nostalgia and like can I
Hmm.
watch this show and enjoy it without just thinking about it nostalgically? Because I know even in
Hmm.
the podcasting space, like cartoons get talked about a lot. We something I like considered a lot when we came up with this season is we are amongst a company of people who discuss cartoons and anime a lot. And
Hmm.
I'm often of the opinion that like you can't experience it the way that it was originally made. You can discuss it and appreciate it for what it was, but like you were never the target. You are no longer the target audience. And so yes, are we
Hmm.
two grown adults watching a kids cartoon? Yeah, for sure. But like we're now approaching the age where we're going to maybe think about having kids in the next couple of years. So
Hmm.
I'm like starting to think about it less of what I remember and what I'm nostalgic for, and more what would my kids get out of this? What's the value of somebody watching this for the first time?
Yeah.
Um, and both of these episodes, right? Like the Serial Toucher and the Kanker Sisters.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think to your point about the way that we might relate to this shifting over time, uh, I think now it's much easier to see and understand. Danny Antonucci was born in the 60s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty close to our age now when
Mm-hmm.
he's making Ed, Edd n Eddy, like within 5 years or so, probably of our age. And knowing that, I can understand the show not just as like here's a thing from my childhood that's kind of activating these memory pathways and maybe finally getting me back to the way that dopamine felt when I was 8 and it was like the best chemical my brain has ever produced. um, I can
Real.
now understand it as like, oh, this is somebody who, yeah, wanted to create something that was entertaining for kids, but also wanted to process the experience of childhood
Yes.
uh, in some way. And so watching it at Nettie, it's like, oh, this is this is a story about childhood that is kind of nostalgic for parts of it and is also like really disillusioned with it. Um, the way that the Ed Touchables ends and Eddie, the final line is like, or they like tortured Johnny, and
Yeah.
Double D's like, should we feel guilty about Johnny's predicament? Eddie
Yeah.
says, you know what they say, a little childhood trauma builds character. End of episode.
Iris in. Yeah.
And that's kind of the thesis of the show, is like, uh, that's what we were told to think in order to be okay with this childhood that was kind of full of like loneliness and
Mm-hmm.
a sense of aimlessness and weird wanton acts of cruelty between children who weren't being supervised and like taught how to be good to each other. And we could either process that by believing that it built character, or uh, that could wreck us a little
Yeah.
bit. And I
Yeah.
think Ed, Edd n Eddy as a show is like on the precipice of, oh, okay, I'm not going to think about that too much. Let's just go have some fun little wacky times. Um, and that's something that really comes through to me now as a 30 something watching this, as opposed to a 10-year old who's like, oh, fuck, those jawbreakers must be delicious. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I have like coworkers, right, and friends at work who are in their 50s who often talk about like they just let us do whatever. And it's
Mhm,
this it's this like or even when we would read a lot about David Lynch when we watched Twin Peaks, and he would say like I experienced things in my childhood that were like completely indescribable and absurd and weird, and like that's where a lot of
mhm,
his history of the bizarre comes from. He's like,
mhm.
sometimes you're a kid, especially in this era where you had so much freedom. Like in the movie Stand By Me, the book and movie Stand By Me are about this exact idea
Yeah,
of like
right.
you are going to collectively experience some shit that you're like, we were not ready for that. That was crazy, and we're
Mhm,
just gonna move on and we're gonna do it again tomorrow because they let us do things. And
mhm,
like they don't parents this is like the culture has shifted, right? We're watching a culture that is dead in America. We
mhm.
can't let our kids do this anymore because we're afraid of what can happen to them more.
Yeah.
And there are more things to be afraid of, and like you said, also indoors is more fun
Mhm.
often. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's like it's a really cool snapshot of that world. I'm curious if you have any like more specific notes as we move on.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we can talk about the substance of the characters in the episodes themselves. I mean, right off the bat, the first scene is Double D going around his room with a label maker, um, putting labels on everything, and I was like, "Yep, yep, yep."
This
And
is you.
even before starting to watch the episode, I was kind of writing some pre-show notes, and I was like, "Yeah, I really felt a kinship with Double D." Wait a minute, Double D. Wait a minute. This kid is like wearing a hat to cover up their hair, and it's like a kind of long hat. Double D feels like really alienated from the world around him. Is there anything to people theorizing that Double D is trans? Let me go look this up.
Ding ding
And
ding 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 ding.
yes, yes, it is a very popular thing in the fandom to write
Headcanon.
like to head or to even write out
Right.
fan canon that Double D is trans. And there's like one interview on the fandom wiki for Ed, Ed and Eddy. There's this bit that I want to quote in Double D's page. A new trend emerged around 2021 after people's attention got directed to another interview on the offline AKA website, which is the production company
Push your
of
company.
the
And then
show,
they. Uh-huh.
asking one of the storyboard artists where he'd see the Eds in the future.
Mm-hmm.
The joke, quote, Double D will be a woman, has often been quoted with incorrect context and taken seriously, and multiple fans at which I take issue with the wording of this wiki. And multiple fans adapted it as their personal headcanon, starting the soft rise of transgender Double D.
Yeah.
Um, so that's a thing. Um, and Double D throughout this episode and both the episodes, it's like I love this character so much. All the little like, please return those labels to their rightful designations. Uh,
The best one of these, by the way, for me was I know you're gonna talk about it when
uh
they're at the cankers and she like the other one tries to give him something. He's like, "Please don't touch me while I'm eating." I was like, "Oh my god! Oh my god! I know this man. I'm best friends with Double D.
uh, the one
He's
that killed me.
overstimulated."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Double D and a lot of the characters in these shows we watched are queer and or neurodivergent, something in there, maybe both, who knows which parts of which, but there's that going on with Double D and with some other characters we'll talk about later.
Hmm. Hmm.
The Double D line that was the funniest to me was when they're submitting Johnny to enhanced interrogation, as we might call it in the early aughts,
Uh-huh.
and they have a lie detection machine which involves a toaster with a light bulb taped to it.
Yep.
And Johnny says something. Eddie says, "What's the word, Double D?" And Double D sniffs the smoke and says, "Inconclusive, Eddie."
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
got
"Why did you build this machine?"
the absurdity of the stuff that they build is so fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
their little inventions. I'm really glad that you resonate with Oldie. I think he's such a wonderful character. He's like definitely the most
Mhm.
rich of the three, and that's kind of the point. Um,
Mhm.
I have always been a big Ed guy. I think
Mhm.
he's the source of a lot of my favorite jokes. The like absurdity, the randomness, the loudness, the brashness of just like he will say the last thing that you thought anybody would possibly say in the situation.
Mhm.
I didn't write down any of his lines in this one. He didn't get a ton of like funny lines, but it is so good. He also is the source of the show's like cartoon logic, right? Like I have like distinct memories of him lifting up the grass in somebody's house and like wringing it out like a rug, uh, or like wrapping his body around people. Like he is a and that's like another like stereotype or cartoon character is your friend who felt like who is that guy? Was he okay? Was he back in the day? They would say was he
Mhm.
special, but nowadays would be like
Mhm.
that guy was weird as fuck. I love that guy. He was so funny. Uh, yeah, like um, when they are introducing all of the characters in the beginning of the first episode, and
Yep.
Ed is watching TV, and like Eddie or Double D tries to jump him, and he's like, "No, you're not." And he just like pulls him from behind. He's like, "I see you. Hello, my friend." It's it's so fun. I just think he's
Yeah.
so lovable and charming, and he does later on get some of my favorite lines of the series.
Yeah, the character work across the board, especially with the Eds, but with everybody is great. And I think this show is a really fun study in using asymmetrical elements in your character design, and doing that in a really exaggerated way, like the kind of head shapes of everybody, and okay, let's take these even just the base premise of we're going to take three guys with the same name and they're going to be the most different people possible,
Mm-hmm.
um, is such a genius premise because then it's like, why do these three guys hang out? They hang out because they're all named Ed.
Yeah,
That's why they hang out. And they live within walking distance of each other. That's childhood. That's the reason. And now we can make these guys completely different to the point that if they were adults and they could choose where they live, they would not spend any time with each other. There's like no reason that Eddie and Double D would share a room at 30 years old.
correct.
Um, but we can, yeah, exaggerate like the body shapes and the head shapes and the personalities and give them different versions of the same name to highlight that, and then everybody in the neighborhood can have their own kind of like, let's take this proportion or idea about them to the extreme. It's really really fun character design and voice acting work across the board.
Yeah, that sketchy, that iconic Ed and Eddie sort of squiggly art style,
Mm-hmm.
which gets more pronounced later. They're kind of like figuring that out right now, but everybody's borders are like thick and black and constantly
Mm-hmm.
moving, and it creates this like kinetic effect that the show really benefits from because it feels like anybody could literally jump out of their frame.
Mm-hmm.
I read that it was very inspired by cartoons of like the 40s into the 70s. A lot
Mm.
of these shows were heavily inspired and like nods to their inspirations.
Yeah, and it's also interesting. Danny Antonucci, prior to this, was working in like adult animation. So he was one of the animators on the movie Heavy Metal.
We gotta
Um,
watch that shit, dude.
we
We gotta
gotta
watch.
watch it. Yeah, and then he like had adult animated series on MTV. Um, and then he kind of got sick of that and was like, let me dare myself to make a kids show.
Uh
But
huh.
the kids show carries with it like this the grit and grime of making stuff where you can assume that like the audience can handle a little grit and grime.
Uh huh.
um and I think that ends up the show ends up like respecting kids' ability to process that by being so gross and like messy.
Hmm.
I really like the style of it a lot.
I also want to jump a little more into Nag to Ed while we still have time here,
Yes, 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 yes. Let's do
because I know
it.
we need to move on soon. But uh, love the Kanker sisters. I know. Speaking of gender stuff,
Amazing.
the mirror image of the Eds. I know. I think it's kind of a bummer that they're not like individually characterized beyond their designs. Like they're all just kind of like women, but like I in the short time that we see them, and we will see them again, they are recurring foils in the show.
Mhm.
They are the show's avenue to be like, what is the Eds are also obsessed with like maintaining a certain energy of like youthfulness and childhood. But when it's the Kangaroo
Mhm.
sisters, it's like I actually they break the quote unquote trailer trash stereotype by being really obsessed
Mhm.
with like heteronormativity, which I think is
Mhm.
so funny and interesting. Like a
Yeah.
1950s heteronormativity. I'm gonna make you dinner while you sit and watch TV. I put on a
Mhm.
video for you. That's what I want. I'm gonna torch you, and the Eds hate it. It's
Mhm.
so interesting.
Yeah.
What did you think about this one?
I loved this story. It was so the Kanker sisters are brilliant. I forgot that they existed, and as soon as they came on screen, I'm like, this is awesome. Red hair, blue hair, yellow hair,
Done.
or the girl versions of the boy characters. Great. Um, and I think what's so genius about the way that the Kanker sisters are characterized and presented to us is um, the Eds are immature
Yes.
in various ways, and I think part of the point of them being our viewpoint characters, as is the case for some of our other protagonist characters in other shows that we watched for today, is like it's beneficial to experience the world through the eyes of an immature character or a character who doesn't like know that much about how the world works yet so that
Hmm.
you can kind of learn and experience it as they do. um, Whereas the Canker sisters are kind of precocious, like they know a little bit more about how the world works and about what can go wrong. Like they live in a trailer park in probably, harsher economic circumstances. The three of them all sleep in the same bed. Um, they have more non-traditional family situations. Each of them is the daughter of a different dad. Presumably, they live with their mom in this
Yeah.
trailer. So it's a pretty big contrast with the Eds, who live these very like white picket fence. We don't know where their parents are, but every indication is that um, they live with both parents who are married to each other, and maybe they have some siblings or something. Relatively middle class situations. And then there's also kind of the thing of like what society expects from boyhood versus what they expect from girlhood.
Totally.
Um, where like boys are expected to be more immature. Girls are expected to be more self-aware and mature sooner. Uh, so the way that the Canker sisters kind of like tower over them because they're hitting puberty a little earlier, they're like getting taller first, they're being
Hmm.
expected to enter into womanhood when they're
Hmm.
still children, and they are like forcing the Eds to play house with them as a way of like excising this exercising this frustration that they have with like, this is what you fucking want me to do? Like you want me to become a wife and a mother and cook TV dinners and like wait on some stupid guy hand and foot? Like fine, I'll do it. Oh, this feels awful. I don't want to do this. I'm upset. Now I'm going to yell at these guys. And then they're going to leave and we're going to be like, ha 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 ha, that was fun. We really kind of like got our frustration out.
Hmm.
Um, I love it. It's so smart. And I think a good representation of how you can end up in a relationship like a heteronormative relationship where you enact these patterns that you've seen in society or in your
Hmm.
parents or whatever. It's like, why are you nagging me all the time? Why are you so lazy? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Um, Patterns that aren't even rooted in your relationship. They're rooted in like
Your
what you were
parents.
told about relationships, yeah, long before you even were an adult. Um, yeah, I thought it was brilliant.
It's crazy that this episode is not well regarded. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's almost funny for people to be like, this one's not that good because it's like the boys don't get to have fun in this one, and it's like, yeah, that's like kind of that's the joke, that they're like, we think this could be fun. They're gonna give us free stuff, and it's like, no, they want to mimic what their parents do and like have a,
Mhm.
and maybe there is like a traumatic read there where it's like they don't have that because maybe their dad has left and they're like, we just want like a dad who stays. We want to like mimic a mother
Mhm.
and father relationship where like the dad stays and everything is just good. Like,
Right.
I think I get why there's this web series Peach Creek, which is an attempt to make a fan series of Ed and Eddy, like as they are grown
Mhm.
up. That's kind of been in like development limbo for very long. Um,
Mhm.
and one of the things that they did in that is like leaning hard into the Kanker sisters as like a traumatic figures. Um,
Mhm.
it's interesting from what I watched of it, but it feels like it's not getting done. Um,
Mhm.
I think I can see why a lot of the adult Ed and Eddy fan base takes these characters, whether it's the Kankers or the Eds, and it's like, okay, but where does all of this come from? We want to answer, fill in the blanks of why are we the way
Mhm.
we are. I think that's super interesting.
Mhm.
Speaking of blanks,
Mhm.
very funny observation you had in this one. Double D digging through the Kanker sisters' dad's books. And what was the book that had the blank pages in it? It was like something monthly or
I
something.
I don't remember, but it's just like such a funny wait a minute, like we're trapped here. It's like all these books are blank.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah. And like,
why would it be like that?
or like cartoon logic of like, you're not supposed to touch the stuff in the background. Don't look at that.
Yeah.
We didn't write
Yeah.
anything for this.
Oh gosh.
Anything else from these ones?
Um no, just the only other thing is the felt very true to life that when the cankers catch them in the spider web and before we see them, they're chanting Ed, Ed, and Eddy sitting in a tree. Like that's the thing you're most afraid of as someone experiencing boyhood is being mocked for being in a gay thruple with like your doppelbangers. Um
Double bangers, you degenerate.
just kidding.
Yeah, but yeah, it's very much like, oh my god, no, I'm not gay. I would never be gay.
No,
Oh
no, I'm not.
god, God, yuck.
Oh, and I think we should keep track of this. There was quicksand in this episode.
Ding.
Quicksand spotted.
That's the noise for quicksand.
Good, yeah. So we'll keep an eye on how much quicksand we see. But let's talk about whatever happened to Robot Jones.
Yeah, what is this? So,
So
yeah, go
let me
ahead.
give a summary here. Credits, and you'll read the summary. So 2002, whatever happened to Robot Jones. This is season 1, episode 1. We also watched there was a pilot. Basically, there was in the year 2000, there was like a pilot competition where Cartoon Network aired a bunch of shorts, and then had viewers vote like which of these do you want to become a series.
Yes.
And the thing that won that was Grim and Evil, which part of Grim and Evil was the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Uh,
Um, but then whatever happened to Robot Jones was the second most popular, and so then 2 years later it comes out as its own show.
got it.
um, Episode 1 has 2 stories, PU to PE and Vacuum Friend. Both of those written by Greg Miller, the creator of the show, storyboarded by Kevin Callier and Mike Stern, and directed by Greg Miller, airing on July 19th, 2002 on Cartoon Network. So whatever happened in Whatever Happened to Robot Jones?
That was tough to get out, I can imagine. So, in this episode, Robot Jones fears taking a shower in gym class because he thinks that he will rust. And in the second part, Robot Jones befriends a vacuum cleaner after thinking humans and robots cannot be friends.
Mm.
This show is so liminal. It's
Mm-hmm.
so weird that this exists, and it feels like a show that I remember. But
Mm-hmm.
when you noted that it only had what, like less than 13 episodes, that kind of,
Yeah, it aired 13, 2 seasons of like 6, 7 episodes each.
that kind of made a lot more sense for me, where I was like, oh, that's why I don't remember it. There just wasn't a lot of it. And also, but it's
Mhm.
so iconic looking. And you also noted that the creators were heavily inspired by Schoolhouse Rock. Um, the main animation like highlights of Robot Jones are extremely busy backgrounds that are sometimes like decolored to let us focus on the colored foreground. Um, children yelling and screaming and talking to like make it feel like a kid's thing. And when people talk, sometimes it'll give them a speech bubble to highlight, like, boom, I said a thing. That's all very, very explicitly Schoolhouse Rock. And then
Yeah.
it is also just a really wholesome story about a kid who wants to feel normal. And it's like so relatable, so simple, so charming, and so adorable, which is important because the biggest difference from the original pilot to the episodes that we actually watched was in the original pilot, the way they sold this to Cartoon Network was he has a robot voice. They used Microsoft Sam, which was a like audio narration software that Microsoft installed in like on your Windows computer in the 90s. And it sounds weird. It sounds robotic. It's like there's a charm to it in sort of an early internet meme way of like I am talking like this, but it's almost impossible to like grasp onto the emotionality of Robot Jones when you hear that voice.
Mhm.
That's why I recommended we watch that. It's like we will totally understand. And Microsoft was like, we don't actually give you permission to make a show like that with this. So those two things combined, we're like, yeah, we're gonna hire a voice actor to do that, a robotic voice
Mhm.
instead, which I think was a very smart decision.
Yeah. And I think even season 1 aired with the robot voice, and then it was like redubbed for reruns and stuff with the
I
voice
see.
actor that they brought in for season 2.
Makes
But yeah, the
sense.
original pilot still has the robot John Dub double bop. Um, yeah, I there was something about the show when I was a kid. I think partly because I must have seen the pilot in 2000
Yeah.
to think that it was on, because then when it came back around and aired in 2002 and they have the show called Whatever Happened to Robot Jones, as a kid I was like, yeah, what did happen? Like, wasn't that a thing? I thought that was a show I was going to get. And where has this Robot Jones been? Um and yeah, I love the perspective of this show. To my point from earlier, there's something in Robot Jones as a character that is a kind of queer and or neurodivergent representation. Like, I'm sort of drifting through childhood, feeling dissociated from it, feeling like there's something wrong with me, like I can't engage with this the way that everybody else is, and I don't have an explanation for it, and I'm like trying so hard to relate to people, to understand, to figure out like how can I give the impression that I know how to do this even if I don't. To have that be enacted through this character who's a robot,
Mm.
who's like, let me study the humans and try to mimic the humans, and has this kind of Martian perspective on this isn't a very logical way to operate. um, it made me emotional. Like,
Me
I
too.
think I was moved by, in both the episodes, Robot Jones's struggled to sort of like fit in and adapt to what was expected of him.
He just wants to be loved. He has a
Yeah.
crush. He likes a girl. He has a friend who calls him Robot. I'm
Hmm.
obsessed with that guy who calls him Robot. Hey, Robot. Um, and he lives in like a simulacrum of the 1970s. Like that's so
Hmm.
weird that the show is in 2002. I think the biggest thing about what I'm calling Robot Jones, like, the name is long to me, is it feels like they knew it was going to be canceled. In a
Mm.
way, the title is thinking of like you're looking at your yearbook and you see somebody in your yearbook and you go, whatever happened to that Robot
Yeah.
Jones kid? Like it's
Right.
saying that, but it's also like we already knew this was a show that wasn't gonna last, and you're gonna be like, whatever happened to the show called Robot Jones?
Yeah.
Like, and also speaking of like whatever happened to that guy, oh, he went on to do blank. There is talk that the show was originally supposed to end. Did you hear about this? How it was supposed to end?
Hmm.
With Robot Jones like forming a robot army and taking over the human race. Like oh, I figured out what I wanted to do. I don't actually need human emotions. He must have learned from grandpa, his extremely racist grandpa. Yeah, the show takes like kid drama, teen growing up drama, and like puts it in the realm of crunchy 70s sci-fi in a really charming
Mhm.
and like memorable way. Like his parents give him advice, but they're also mom bot and dad bot, and they can kind of only like spit out basic input output because it's like the 70s. So they're like, you must go to school. It is your initiative. You have to go to school. But it's like, that's also mom and dad
Mhm.
being like, you gotta go to school. There's something just so deeply like lovable about that. And I can't
Yeah,
emphasize enough. I think he's like the cutest character design of all time. I fucking love him.
yeah. I agree. Robot Jones is adorable. And yeah, it's so smart that, like you're saying, the mom unit and the dad unit, their functions are more restrained and their advice or their what they can say is more restrained, in part because, yeah, they're earlier models of robots, so they're less complex, nuanced, and advanced than Robot Jones is, who's like getting closer to being um, a true android.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's also just a metaphor for like my parents don't understand, or if they do understand, they're like really not showing me that they understand,
Yeah.
and that feels very isolating. um like the pilot, the moment where the dad bot has the big claw and just like picks him up and carries him to the bus, um and the fact that like the mom bot doesn't have a face, she just has like a little light bulb there.
Yeah.
um yeah, it all feels very much like what being a child felt like to me.
And like being a neurodivergent child, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to go in the showers. I don't know how to act human. I know I like a girl, but I don't know what to do with that feeling. Like it's very, very
Mhm.
pubescent, early neurodivergent. Like, why am I different? I've made a friend, and everyone's like, "That's a weird friend," and you're like, "But that's my friend." He said, "Buddy." This is in the second episode. Robot Jones befriends a dust
Mhm.
buddy vacuum, uh, and everyone's like, "No, not that friend. That's weird. I have a normal friend for you. Why can't you
Mhm.
just go to this pool party like the rest of us?" Uh, I was like, is this how I felt? Like, what? I get so
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. Like the moment in the pilot where Robot Jones plugs himself in and then the kids are like, "Hey everybody, the robot eats from his butt." It's like, I need to charge. Like,
I
what? Is there something wrong with how I eat? I don't know.
it
What am I supposed to do?
well, it's like the school went and taught said like, hey guys, one of your classmates is a robot. Like, please be respectful. And they're like, okay, but they're
Mhm.
preteens, so they're like, no, we are not going to be respectful to that kid. It's not like they
Yeah.
don't know. It's not like they physically don't. They do know, and they choose to be mean, which is why sometimes you hear the grandpa say things like, "We're better than them," and you're like, "Uh oh, well, something is
Mhm.
building here."
Yeah. And then you have the teachers, the way that Mr. Workout, the gym teacher, who by the way is voiced by D. Bradley Baker, which I couldn't have possibly known because I've
Chats
only ever
alum.
heard him go like "Beep, boop, bop, beep, boop, beep, beep."
Or it was Appa.
Or right. Um and wasn't he the like the clones and stuff? Was that D. Bradley Baker?
Yeah, yeah, yes.
Yeah. But he wasn't doing any of those voices. He was doing a different voice. But Mr. Workout is like, you gotta get in the showers, kid. Uh and it's like, wait, do you know that Robot Jones is a robot or not? Because you're getting like really intense about making this robot conform to this expectation.
Yeah,
And it's sort of like, why are you so invested in forcing this conformity exactly? Why are you taking such glee in it? And that's how, it felt sometimes to be a kid. You didn't really understand yourself and how you're engaging with the world around you. And like, this makes me uncomfortable, or this doesn't feel right to me. And the adults around me are kind of like, they either don't know or they're fully ignoring it. And
yeah,
and you could even say like, oh, well, that's the guidance is treat Robot Jones like all the other kids. But there's a danger to doing that because then you could damage this robot by putting them in the shower and like destroying them. And I think that's a really apt metaphor for kids who are experiencing any kind of difference or divergence from what you're asking them to conform to, where if you just like ignore that about them, that's not helpful. That can be really harmful.
Precisely.
um yeah.
Or like disability, right? Same thing, you're talking about
Yeah,
divergence. Like
right, exactly,
you're not willing to
exactly.
provide accommodations because you were given the directive of like treat all the kids equally, but like I need accommodations, and I
Right.
whatever you want to say, I put in the form. My parents told you, the principal told you, and the teacher's like, I don't really care. I need you to shower. It's like, well, why? Like, what?
Yeah.
You're on a power trip. It's like
Hmm.
so funny. This is like a kids comedy show, and both of us came away from it like, this sucks. They need to fix this. Like, not the show sucks, but like the world is a cruel, unfair place to people like us. It's not fair at all.
Yeah, well, I think it's like,
We got cats.
sorry, I got kittens yelling at me. I think it's that shift from being a kid and understanding sometimes shit really sucks and you need to scrap it out and get through it, to being an adult and being like,
What the fuck?
dude, like, why didn't you tell me? I would have yelled at those teachers. Like, they shouldn't be doing that to you.
Yes,
Yeah, but
I love
very,
them.
very good show.
Other notes?
I laughed out loud at this one moment where Robot Jones is like, "Where's the showers?" And there's this kid who walks by and says, "Follow me, man. I'm headed that way."
I love that kid. Isn't that also the kid later when his friend invites him to the pool party? He's like, pool party, pool. He just like runs by in
I
his
think
bathing
so,
suit.
yeah. Yeah.
Love that kid. There's a lot of like fun, quick background gags. Like in the second episode, especially, somebody
Uh-huh.
he like pulls the dust buddy out of the closet and there's a record scratch, and then we turn and there's a DJ kid who's like, "Hold on, my bad."
Um, yeah. Oh, there's the other thing that I laughed really hard at. Thank you for highlighting this in my notes. Um, in the second episode, there's this kid who mocks Jones. And then there are just these birds that like
So
attack him and
funny.
take his glasses.
It's so funny. It's the funniest bit in the whole episode, whole show. And I remember laughing at this as a kid. Like this like triggered a lot of like, oh,
Mhm.
I've laughed at this before. Just
Yeah.
like chubby kid in the corner who's like, ah, 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 and then the bird's like, ah, ah, just plays like, no, my glasses. That's perfect.
So funny.
And of course, he can
But
bond like all good neurodivergent kids like us did over video games.
yeah, video games, video games, video
Video
games,
games,
video
video games.
games.
Because the kid invites him to the pool party and he's like, I can't handle the social pressure. I mean, water pressure of being at a pool party. And then he's like, let's just sit in the basement and play games with him. He's like, that's exactly what I want to do. Yep.
Yep.
Give me that. Thank you.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Beautiful stuff.
Should we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break.
We'll be right back after this brief musical break to discuss regular show and Steven Universe. Back after this. Welcome back to Toon Couch Toon Madness, everybody's favorite cartoon review discussion pod. The gentleman's jamming out to a copyright-free song that they cannot hear, but you can hear it. I don't know if you watch the video version. Oh, you are so on beat. It's like disturbing.
Really?
Yes.
That's really funny. In my head, I'm just playing Peanuts music. That's the
Oh yeah,
dance I'm doing.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. That'd be your background dance, your loop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Oh my god, it even had like a clean ending spot. That was perfect. Welcome back. TCTM. It's a new dawn. It's a new day.
Welcome
When's the last time we recorded on a Monday morning? What the fuck?
I don't know. That wasn't like a holiday. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I think we should do a thing, by the way, like Scape chats where instead of the F word, we use a substitute F word, like because we're watching cartoons.
Sure, it's family friendly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like Fruck, but maybe we can change it every week, whatever feels good with the flooch. That feels
We'll try
worse.
a few out, and we'll
Mm-hmm.
have a side bracket of fake curse
Because
words.
what we need is more brackets, obviously.
Yeah, when you get sick of the first bracket, you take a break and do a couple episodes on the curse bracket, and you're like, I miss shows, so let's
Uh-huh.
watch TV again. That's how you do it.
We are resuming our Cartoon Network daytime bracket week 1 with discussion of our other 2 shows, Regular Show and Steven Universe. First up, let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about Regular Show. Magellan, can you give me some background and some credits, please?
I would love to. So for this episode, we watched Regular Show Season 1, Episode 1, which is called The Power. It was written by J.G. Quintel and also storyboarded by J.G. Quintel, who's the creator of the show. Directed by Robert Alvarez and Brian Sheasley. It aired on September 6th, 2010 on Cartoon Network. You want to tell me what happened in the episode?
I do. In this episode, while Mordecai and Rigby are wrestling with a doll, they accidentally make a hole in the wall. Using a magical keyboard that can do whatever they want, the duo decide to convince their boss Benson to give them raises so they can hire someone to fix the hole. John, this summary does the episode a service because Regular Show is a show about doing whatever you kind of feel like doing, and that is both in its creation and in what its characters get up to. At least from this episode that we've seen. John, do you have any familiarity with Regular Show before today?
Regular Show, in my mind, is kind of the poster child for shows that I was not watching when they came out. It came out in 2010. This is the fall of our junior year of high school. So I wasn't really watching like the new stuff that Cartoon Network had to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And the show, I mean, there is a moment where like a wizard pisses in a bush, so it's hard to triangulate the exact target demographic of Regular Show. But the sense that I get is like, and what it's representative of is this was a show that I was just a little bit too old for
Yeah.
when it came out for it to like catch me in my TV watching habits and in kind of what I was looking for. So it's always just been, oh, there's like that show, there's like a bird guy,
Yeah.
and it's probably funny, but that's about it. What about you?
I think that Regular Show has an interesting history because it got shopped around a lot. The J.G. Quintel had worked on a variant of it when he was in Cal Arts, which is kind of the home base for a lot of the 2010s Cartoon Network like animators, including Penn Ward and I believe Rebecca Sugar may or may not have gone to Cal Arts as well. But I say that because I think that the series was even at one point pitched to Adult Swim. And so that leads to a weird demographic quirkiness where you're like, is this an adult show for adults like Rick and Morty? But it's also not, they don't say anything bad. Like there's nothing too lewd, but it is kind of in the realm of like stoner comedy. Like even just Mordecai and Rigby as like cartoon characters that are entirely depicted as regular people. Like the fact that they're animals says nothing about how they act, but everything about how they move. Is a very like adult cartoon type of thing to do. And the joke of them being like, we're two 23-year-old guys. Like that is funny to 23-year-olds to be like, yeah, these guys, or like 30-year-olds, right? But yeah, I think that like average watching audience of actual Cartoon Network at the time would have been teenagers who are like, this is like more funny and more goated and memey than like all of the other corny stuff that I watched as a kid. So it falls into, that's what I mean. It just falls into a really strange like demographic overlap, but it has a massive fan base. It made it 8 seasons, 244 episodes. They got a rework in season 8 and they changed it to Regular Show in Space, which is sick. And I believe there's currently a like lost episodes thing airing on HBO from them. So
Oh, okay.
they are like still
Interesting.
doing stuff. But JJ Quintel has not like done the Cal Arts thing of like making 57 other shows. They made a
Mm,
movie in 2015. He's worked on a lot of TV, like Flapjack and Gumball. But he's kind of
mhm,
like regular show is still just the big thing that he worked on, which is really fascinating compared to his
mhm.
contemporaries. I'm curious, what did you think of the what is it called? The Power. What did you think
Oh,
of the
the
Power?
power. I was like, the pilot?
Yeah.
Um, Look, I think grain of salt, to me, regular show reads as a show that, like, it's gonna have episodes that I would like more, and I bet if I watched a bunch of it, I would have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I think within this slate of 4 episodes, it's tough for regular show's thing to,
Yeah.
like, shine in comparison, especially, watching them sequentially or in chronological
Yeah.
order like you described. Ed, Edd n Eddy and Whatever Happened to Robot Jones are 2 of the last shows that Cartoon Network produced that were hand drawn, or like use cell, hand drawn cell animations.
The Robot Jones is the
And
last one ever that was like entirely because it ended before they stopped doing that. Ed and Eddy eventually became not hand animated.
yeah. And so regular show, you get to it and it's digitally animated. And there's just like, you know, and I think especially because Ed, Edd n Eddy and Whatever Happened to Robot Jones are like particularly messy looking shows
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Um, so you get to regular show and everything's just like so clean,
Mm-hmm.
um, in a way that doesn't quite vibe with the attitude of it to me. Like, I wanted the show to be a little grungier, I think, or
Mm-hmm.
busier looking. And I get that it's like a regular show, I suppose, and that kind of contrast is part of the point. But um, I don't know. I think to me, what this reads as is this is like a TV version of the sorts of stuff that I was watching on, like Newgrounds or Homestar Runner or early YouTube, where
Interesting.
it's just one person making their little project and they have a kind of roster of funny character designs that they like, and the characters are going to sort of do normal stuff but then be like, the way that you beat the thing is you got a ham bone, man. Don't you love ham boning? Boom, 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 boom. And you're kind of laughing because it's like a little raccoon ham boning for no reason. Um, and I've enjoyed plenty of stuff like that, but it sort of feels like it's not raised above um, that kind of internet fare, which you would want from a TV show that's like fully produced and
Yeah.
TV show-fied. So I don't know. I think I was just underwhelmed. Like, I was entertained, but I was underwhelmed.
I think
Um,
it's
yeah.
really interesting comparing the regular show to Adventure Time, which is
Yeah.
contemporaneous because as we discussed on our Patreon, patreon.com/Chatspod, we had a patron recommend us Adventure Time, or no, I
Mhm.
recommended us Adventure Time. Excuse me.
Mhm. Yeah.
uh, and it was like, oh, I like that the show is creative and weird and random and good, but also it like eventually becomes about something. And from what I've seen, like regular show never really becomes about something. It just has a lot of like creative premises. Then you have this split, right? You have like cartoons that want to be about something like Gravity Falls, Adventure Time, Hilda, like shows that like have a plot and a storyline, and they have shows that are
Mhm.
just like about existing, like just about characters being here, like Ed, Edd n Eddy and like regular show. So
Mhm.
what's interesting is like it lays on all these different axes where I see Ed, Edd n Eddy and I think about the loss of innocence, the loss of children going outside, the change in how the world grows up. I watch regular
Mhm.
show and I'm like, this could kind of still work today. This show doesn't feel dated. It doesn't feel like
Mhm.
awkward or corny, or there's no like historical meat on the bone for us to examine its quotidianness. Whereas, like I said, Ed and Eddy, I feel represents a world that doesn't exist anymore, and I find that endlessly fascinating. So
Mm.
that's my thing, is like there is nothing bad about regular show. I think it's a very competently made,
Yeah.
surprisingly funny pilot. I think this episode
Mhm.
like takes us in some really hilarious directions I want to get into, but like yeah, I didn't, when it comes to like wanting to cover it for the podcast, I was like, you know, the other one I compare it to, I know I'm comparing it to a lot of things, but that's because it just reminds me of so much stuff.
Mhm.
Is Smiling Friends. Did you ever watch Smiling Friends?
Mm-mm. Not familiar.
So it probably like would have slid out of your purview because it was like a COVID. It started as a COVID show and is, I think, just wrapped up. Uh, that's like three friends hangout show, but is more explicitly like an absurdist adult cartoon and has
Mm.
no qualms about having a story. Has no interest in like telling a long term story, but
Mhm.
it falls into like stoner television because it
Yeah.
was on adult. So to me, Smiling Friends is like if regular show just locked in and became an adult stoner show, it would be perfect. It'd
Mhm.
be Smiling Friends, which is like I think is very creative and good. But
Mm.
because it like wants one foot in being a kids show and one foot in being adult TV, it kind of feels like nothing. It feels like an amalgamation of other better things. It's a jack of all trades, master of none type of show.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think when I was watching it, the thought I had was, uh, the middle school boys in my Dungeons and Dragons and Writers class would enjoy this show, was the thought.
Certainly, yeah,
Uh, like the beginning where Mordecai and Rigby are wrestling on the ground and doing this whole like, "Whoa, give him that elbow!" Da, da. Like when you're that age and you just want to kind of like toss yourself around a room. Um, and I think that that's the thing that as I'm getting older and I'm working with children who are at that point in their lives, I'm having to sort of uh, have empathy for that and be like, okay, like it's what kids need to do is like kind of toss themselves around and use up their
yeah.
energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's just this is not my speed. I'm not really a stoner comedy person unless it's like very particular brand of absurdism, I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think my take on regular shows is just like not my tempo, but
Yeah,
it's fun. And I think
this
we should
is
talk
for
about the fun parts of it.
I do too. This is definitely for
Yeah.
someone, and there are jokes in it
Yeah.
that are for us. Um, so we talked about them
Mhm.
fighting at the beginning. I love this. I love that read of like, this is a couple of kids who are, and it appeals to kids who want to throw their body around, who maybe are like
Mhm.
post puberty or in the middle of puberty, and are like, I have all this weird energy. I just want to like, we want to just like wrestle. And it's
Mhm.
Mordecai and Rigby are like so funny because they are 20 somethings who are like kind of employed, which I think we've both like known people like that. It's like I have a job, and the boss
Mhm.
is like chill enough. He's like, I guess I'll give you a raise. You have been doing more work. Like that they seem totally content. Do they live with their parents? I don't really know. Do we care? I don't really care. Like let's just put them in a room where they hang out and want
Mhm.
to fight. So they're wrestling. They break the wall. Shit, man, we gotta fix the wall. And the episode takes this like hard pivot of like, well, how do we fix the wall? And then how do we get to Wizard peeing in bush?
That's how they get the keyboard, the power.
Okay.
It's the wizard's keyboard that he leaves on the park bench, and then Rigby steals it.
And it's a keyboard that you once you play it, if you like they the way they understand it is like you do a little dance and then you think something and can manifest it. um
Mhm.
and it's just, I think the fundamental comedy of this episode is if two 23-year-old boys could do anything, they would probably just like be like, can I get a raise? Can I just
Mhm.
kind of, I don't know, because they're not ambitious. Like that's so funny that they are in Infinity Cartoon World as a bird and a raccoon, and they're just like,
Mhm.
Can I get a little bit more money? That's kind of all I
Mhm.
want. I don't know. There's no like interest in
Yeah.
strength or power or money, like large sums of money. It's just like I would like to be a little bit more comfortable, please.
Yeah, it again reminds me of the students in my class. Like when you play Dungeons and Dragons with late elementary or early middle school kids, or even early high school kids, a lot when they're kind of given the opportunity to determine what their character is going to do,
I don't know,
they're
hang
like,
out.
well, it's sort of like, well, is there like something? that we can steal. Like the in our campaign, there was one island where the kids decided like, oh, in this place over here, we heard there's like a ton of dragon eggs. It's like, okay, great. They like steal all these dragon eggs, and
Yeah.
then throughout the rest of our, we're like going from island to island doing this big story, and whenever we get to a new place, they're like, yeah, I want to look for like the market, see if I can sell my dragon eggs. And it's like, for what? Like, what are you gonna do with the money? And then they've been sitting on like a stockpile of 50 eggs because it's like, yeah, you know, you're supposed to like get a thing and then have money from it. It's like,
Right? That's
why? Like, why
yeah.
is that what you want? Um, so this is kind of an interesting study of that. And what I like also about the power and what they do with it is, you know, it's kind of this metaphor for you have more
Agency.
influence over an agency than you think that you do.
Hmm.
And often the only thing that it takes for you to like exercise the power that you have is to recognize that you have it. So like, why not ask your boss if you can have a raise? The worst thing they can do is say no, and they might even say yes. And that's fun to see these two characters go forth, um, and see things work a little bit better for them than they expected them to. But yeah, it is funny.
And them going, like you said, going up to like their boss or going up to pops and just being like, hey, can I
Hmm.
have this thing? They're like, yeah, sure.
Sure. I wasn't
Oh.
keeping it from you. You can have it.
You can have it. You guys, you do good work, and I want you to get stay with me, so I'm gonna pay you more. Oh,
Hmm.
I think that does end up becoming a good lesson for kids. Of like, you don't need to be
Hmm.
scared of the worst case scenario all the time. Sometimes you can just ask, and the worst thing you can do is ask.
Yeah.
I love that. Again, the gimmick of regular show being it's a regular world with regular things, but everybody's weird. Like their boss is a gumball machine with a mustache.
Hmm.
That's fine.
Hmm.
Their pops is an old man who has a balloon head, like a just a big gigantic balloon head. Again,
Hmm.
fine, not a worry. Does that mean anything? No. But where conflict, because the thing is, like, when you establish a world with too much freedom, like infinite freedom, no rules, then it's like, well, where does
Hmm.
conflict come from? I'm like, well, you gave infinite power to like an idiot, and so he was like, I'm just gonna send stuff to like to the moon, and then they end up on the moon, and they're like, oh shit, like all the stuff that I sent is up here now. Now we have to take care of this, and like,
Hmm.
and now the machine doesn't work, or it needs batteries, and blah blah blah. Like you have to. It almost feels improvisational how it's written, which I think again I talked about like with Adventure
Hmm.
Time in its early goings was, yeah, sometimes they just have to write a thing to happen next. One thing happens next, one thing happens, and then like, all right, I guess we're good. We fixed it.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's a low stress show, which again is why I think it works good as like stoner TV. It's like there's
Yeah.
nothing's gonna scare you on this.
Yeah. I think something that I'm noticing about it in contrast with with Ed and Eddy in general is the landscape of character motivations and how they work and why it is that characters do things or don't do things. Because in Ed and Eddy, the Eds live at home. Home is a place that's kind of like vaguely unsettled. There's something about it that's lonesome or empty feeling, and so they're like, well, we got to go outside. That's where our friends are.
Mm-hmm.
We got to go do something out in the world because like being at home doesn't feel quite right.
Mm-hmm.
So everything about what the characters do, they're being pulled outward, um, and doing zany things because they want to. In regular show, home is great. Like I live with my best friend, no problem. We're rolling around, punching this doll. Oh, we break the wall and now we need to leave, go out into the world, which feels unsettled, which doesn't feel like the place we want to be.
Great
Um,
point. Wow.
learn to feel some comfort in the world, but ultimately, like, we just want to go home. And it's just interesting to kind of observe that contrast and recognize that the Ed and Eddy version is more compelling to me. Um, but in theory, like, both of those should be workable systems of motivation.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
Well, I
but
think Ed, Ed, and
it's
Eddy's.
intriguing to look at these side by side.
I agree. Yeah, they're kind of they have different goals of what safety and fun looks like to them. And I think
Hmm.
maybe Ed, and Eddy's, that's the hardest name to say quickly, by the way.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe it's more appealing because it's so different from the way we live now. Whereas regular show feels like
Sure.
I have to go on an errand. Ugh, I just want to be home and do nothing. Like that's actually how a lot of us live now.
Yep, that's
And
true.
you can never go home again, right? You can't ever go to the same river because it's not the same river and you're not the same person. They come back, the house is destroyed, but the hole in the drywall is fixed, which
That's so funny. I laugh so hard at that.
everything is destroyed, but the hole is fixed is perfection. That's like,
Yeah.
if you sold me this pilot on that, I would be like, yeah, I'm giving you a show. That's good. That's really good. And
Hmm.
like a cartoon logic thing that I truly love. That's like something that's going to come up a lot on this on TCTM is like cartoon logic is inherently funny because it allows us to, like, you and I think often think in cartoon logic. Like, what if this
Hmm.
thing just didn't work like this? And these are all in some way shows that like engage with the magic of cartoon logic in some way or another. Uh,
Hmm.
and so it's fun to, even in regular show all these years later, to still be like, yeah, in a cartoon world, the drywall can be fixed and the wall is not fixed. That doesn't make any sense, but it's funny.
Hmm.
The non-reality of it is what makes it funny. Did you have any
Yeah.
other notes on regular show?
Just a couple, just a couple laughs. The ham boning stuff I thought was really funny, and I was very amused by it coming back, and Rigby having this like flashback montage of, wait a minute, oh, ham boning, man, it's gonna save your life one day. I like that. And then the bit where they find the keyboard, Rigby's like, what should we call it? And Mordecai goes, I've always wanted to date a girl named the Power.
Power.
No, I really enjoyed that.
Mm.
Because that was a fun swerve from the sort of like, yeah, let's feminize this object. Instead, it's like the power. And then also there is I think, a deeper kind of, if the power, the keyboard is representative of, you have more agency in the world than you realize. And you think about how sometimes, I know this was true for myself when I was younger, I would tie a lot of my like disaffection and lack of agency to, like, oh, I'm lonely, I wish I was in a relationship. Like, that would fix my life, as if there was a girl named the Power
Yeah,
in my life.
that'd be sick.
That would be so great, but I'll just be depressed instead. That worked for me on a few levels.
Belle and
Yeah.
Sebastian slowly goes from quiet to really loud while you're talking in my head. It's good stuff, man. I love that. Beautifully
Mhm,
said.
mhm.
Shall we move on?
Let's do it. Let's talk about Steven Universe, 2013's Steven Universe. We watched the first episode, and I watched a part of it, but you also watched the entirety of the original pilot, the unaired pilot, which
Yes.
has like a different animation style. There's much to discuss there.
Yeah.
Steven Universe, season one, episode one, Gem Glow, written by Joe Johnston and Jeff Liu, storyboarded by Joe Johnston and Jeff Liu, directed by Kevin Dart. The show was created by Rebecca Sugar. This episode aired on November 4th, 2013 on Cartoon Network. What happened in Gem Glow?
In this episode, Steven is disappointed that his favorite ice cream sandwich brand, Cookie Cat, gets taken off the market. He soon cheers up upon discovering that the gems managed to get a hold of some of the last remaining Cookie Cats, which he comes to believe may be the key to activating his gem. So, as you said, or as we've said before, you and I both have a lot of history with Steven, or we have a growing history with Steven Universe.
Mhm.
Because Rebecca Sugar comes off of Adventure Time. She sells this pilot to or pitches this pilot to Cartoon Network, and at first it kind of like sits in holding for a while. Like I think for me, as someone who watched most of the series as it aired, Steven Universe always felt tied to like how Cartoon Network wanted it to air, which was often
Yeah.
really frustrating because it's a show with like a really important linear storyline that was never given the room to properly breathe when it was airing. So like I remember
Right.
watching the original pilot on Cartoon Network, I believe, and being like, this looks kind of cool and creative and fun. And did you say you got to watch at least a little bit of it, of the OG
I
pilot?
watched it one scene of it, yeah.
Okay. It's so Adventure Time looking. It's kind of remarkable.
Yes, it is, yeah.
The biggest thing is like, from what I understand, Rebecca Sugar does all this work on that show, and like essentially just like does that work on her own idea. And it's like the creativity is here, the characters are here, the voices are here, but everything feels a little off model. It's one of the most interesting like unaired pilots I've seen, or non-canon pilots, because everything's
Mhm.
like close. Like Pearl is a little bit more glam rock, and everything's a little bit more
Mhm.
explicitly anime inspired. And
Mhm.
then like Garnet looks completely different. I don't like the unaired pilot version of Garnet at all. And then Steven is just like, yeah, slightly off model. They didn't give him the cute silhouette that he goes on to have, the sort of big hair, chubby
Mhm.
round body. So it's like interesting and fun, but there's just like, she didn't lock down what she wanted this show to look like. It kind of feels like it's just wholesale you doing all of its references. Lars is saying, and there's a part in the unaired pilot where Lars is like, you live with all those three hot girls, right? And I was like, Lars would never say that. That's like not a
Mhm.
Lars. He's mean. That's the whole point of Lars. But like, that's not a phrase he would use. People don't ever say that the gems are hot women in Steven Universe.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
get why someone would say that in a world where they didn't understand what the crystal gems were. So
Mhm.
I say all that to say that like watching the unaired pilot made me really appreciate Cookie Cat and like retroactively the whole show, because Rebecca Sugar and company like really locked in on like, this is what we want our show to look like. It is inspired by anime, by like things, anime films and TV shows, by video games, by all sorts of things, but it is our thing. It ends up being holistically unique. Whereas that unaired
Yeah.
pilot feels very derivative and very Adventure Time, very just like the pilot Pearl design is very beloved by fans because it's like absurd. But you watch that and you're like, that's
Mhm.
not my Pearl. Like she wouldn't be that glamorous. She's kind of like prim
Mhm.
and proper and holding together with wire and lace, as Metric would say. So
Mhm.
then you watch Cookie
Mhm.
Cat and you're like, oh, they got it. They figured it out. This is not the show that I will go on to love, but it is the seed of a show that I would love.
Mhm.
Did you enjoy watching
Yeah,
Cookie Cat?
um
Or sorry, go ahead with
yeah.
whatever thought you were gonna say.
No, I was gonna just agree with you on this animation difference thing. Um, I think it's something that kind of across these shows that we watched is thinking about the way that like the presentation style is part of what puts you into the perspective of the protagonist. And so in Ed, Edd and Eddy or whatever happened to Robot Jones, like there is a sense that there's a lot of information and busyness in the environment, but also like a lot of it is just kind of a single color with some outlined elements.
Mm-hmm.
So you get the sense that these characters are not fully aware of the world outside of themselves. They're like the ability to perceive is kind of expanding outward
Mm-hmm.
from where they are. Um, and in a show like Ed, Edd and Eddy, we get things shown to us through images. Like there isn't a moment where a character stops and says, "Oh, the Kanker sisters live in a trailer park." And here's what that means here in the context of our town and what we think about that. Because these kids don't have an opinion on
Right.
that. So it's just presented to us as an establishing shot. Here we are. Now you know where you are.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I think for me, a crucial distinction between the original Steven Universe pilot and Gem Glow is there's just something about like the darkness, and I mean that as like the colors are darker
Mm-hmm.
in the original Steven Universe pilot, and there's something about like the animation is just a little bit more nuanced, um, and all of that kind of points to a perspective of Stevens that's more mature than he is at the beginning of the series.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's so important because like a crucial through line and theme of Steven Universe as a show is you have this kid who's like just a good kid trying to do his best and trying to like support the people in his life, make other people happy. And as the show goes on, he gets older, gains more perspective on the people around him and on the family system that he's a part of. And uh, he doesn't have that untouched innocence anymore. So I really, really think that all the changes made to Gem Glow are so crucial in positioning us in Steven's perspective as like, it's cute little Steven. He can't even use his gem yet. And we're going to take care of you, buddy. You eat those delicious cookie cats.
Right.
Um, and for this cookie cat thing to be like the central element where the biggest problem in Steven's life is that they ran out of his favorite ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and the biggest problems in his life are going to get bigger as the show goes on. So yeah, I think this it's cool to see the process here and see the differences because this pilot um, maybe is not as representative of what is going to happen in the show, but is a much better starting point that we can travel from to get to the rest of the show.
Correct. No, correct. Because the show's starting this light and simple and having this theme of like, oh, Steven's innocence, this loss of
Mm-hmm.
innocence, is pretty important. Like that is kind of the core arc of the show. And the pilot, the OG pilot, doesn't have that. The OG pilot's
Mm-hmm.
conflict is like Amethyst thought that Steven deserved to have to see what this thing was about. He uses the orb that lets him go back in time to do disses, to do comebacks. And it's sort of
Mm-hmm.
like this whole what if you were the one gem who had a useless power, which is you can go back in time, but only to say a comeback, and he uses that to save the gems. That depowers the gems, makes the gems seem less powerful because he saves the day in a way that's like, can they not fight for themselves? That's a
Mm-hmm.
flaw in the writing. It overemphasizes Amethyst in a way that the story doesn't need to do, and it takes
Mm-hmm.
away the story of like Steven learning. Not, it's like you can learn to. Some of the show is yes about Steven learning to be a hero, but it's also about Steven learning to like be in a family. Like, what does this family mean and look like, warts and
Yeah.
all? And none of that's in that pilot. That
Yeah.
pilot to me is like this little self-contained ball of comedy and weirdness. But Cookie Cat, although yes, very simple, goofy, funny, and not representative of everything, does like kick us off into like, and from here you could tell a story about Steven
Mm-hmm.
growing up and like having agency because he, even with the ice cream is still like, I need to save the day. I need to find my power. That's his arc in season
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. And I love like it's so having seen the entirety of the original series of Steven Universe and a lot of Steven Universe Future, I think is
Mm-hmm.
what it's called. The
Mm-hmm.
like they came back and did an extra season.
Mm-hmm.
Um the sequence in this episode where he's like, he is able to use his gem for a little bit, and everyone's like, whoa, that's so exciting. Okay, we're going to teach you how to do that again. And then he goes to each of the three of them, Pearl, Amethyst, and Garnet, one by one. And each of them tells him, okay, here's how you do it. Here's how
Yeah.
you get your weapon out of your gem. Everybody tells him something completely different.
Yeah.
Is like, forget what the other people told you. They're wrong. You have to do it my way. Uh, that sequence is the show because
Mm-hmm.
ultimately the point of Steven Universe is you're a kid in this messy family system. You're being raised by your three sister moms who themselves are still like processing their position in this messy family system and their relationships with each other. And uh, they're not perfect mentors. They're trying their best, and their best is good in some ways and limited in other ways. And ultimately, the solution is not to pick one of the three and do it their way. The solution is to figure out, well, what's
Your
the
way.
fourth way that is your way? And that's what Steven does in the episode.
Hmm.
So you get the pilot becomes a microcosm
Hmm.
of the way we're going to see these relationships play out as
Hmm.
the show goes on. And you also get a bit of one of my favorite things, the little things that I noticed when each gem is telling him, here's how you do the thing, is they each get their kind of magical girl transformation moment where they take the weapon out.
Yeah.
And in the background, we're we're accompanying that with like a specific musical instrument that is sort of like, here's their vibe. So when Pearl is doing it, it's like the classic piano kind of you know,
Waltz.
waltzy sort of thing. Amethyst, it's like this drum solo, and Garnet, it's this really busy synthesizer that might even be multiple synthesizers, I don't know, playing at the same time. And then you can sort of notice when we have scenes where it's like one of them or two of them or a song with everybody in it, how those instruments then get used um, relative to like who's in it and how much it's their story versus somebody else's. So it's really cool that that also gets set up here too, the musical motifs that will continue to be really central to the what's so great about the show. So it's a really cool pilot, I think.
I agree. You you made that point about the microcosm, and I honestly wonder how much of this series Rebecca Sugar had planned out, because
Hmm.
there's actually a lot. I don't want to like talk about spoilers. There's like kind of more than a few scenes in this pilot that are things that will gain a lot of weight later. They're like throwaway lines here. Um, Somebody, either Amethyst or Pearl, at one point says, calls Steven your highness in a way to like joke with him, and you're like, oh, the
Mm.
backstory of Cookie Cat, the song, the Cookie Cat song itself,
Hmm.
is something. I was like, is this retroactive? Am I like realizing it retroactively that it makes sense, or did she write it going forward and then go like, oh, it would be kind of fun if I like tied back into that pilot? It's kind of nuts.
Yeah, it's we talked about this when we piloted Adventure Time on
Yeah,
the Patreon, and I was
yeah,
talking about the George R. R. Martin idea of some writers are gardeners and some are
yeah.
architects.
And you said Rebecca Sugar is an
Um,
architect.
Rebecca Sugar's an architect. Like I'm positive that she came into this show or they came into this show with like 80-90% of
The whole
it
series.
figured out.
Wow,
So
I believe it.
I would bet dollars to donuts
Ooh,
that if you notice a moment and you're like, was that like, yeah, it probably was. It probably that is probably what's happening there.
that's so cool. Because what it
Yeah.
does is it rewards you for coming back to for looping back. Like I think the best thing
Yeah.
that a long narrative can do, one of the best things that you can accomplish as a narrative storyteller, is to give people a reason to start over. Like writing an ending is
Yeah.
hard, but like writing a beginning that feels satisfying to come back to is like the ultimate goal, I think.
Totally. That's a
And
great
this
point.
this simple Cookie Cat episode contains so many little things that I was like, wait, hold you guys know that that's gonna matter later. I want to talk about
Yeah.
favorite characters, Magellan. I never got to really talk about this with you, and if this show doesn't win, then we'll never get to talk about it. Who is your favorite Steven Universe character, and who is your Steven Universe self-insert?
Uh that's the same answer. One of my notes I wrote was the double D to Pearl pipeline.
Yes.
And just, take everything that that means. But I adore Pearl. Yeah, I think and she doesn't part of the point of the character is like you don't see much of this from her in this episode,
Yeah.
but she's this character who, even though she's not the leader, even though she's not the oldest, even though she's not the strongest, she's sort of decided like everybody being okay is her responsibility to bear, and she's gonna like take it on, and
Yeah.
then that is going to have some consequences for her psyche and the team later. But I love Pearl and the sort of sapphic yearning that is such a big part of her story, and all of her big songs are like the best songs in the show. So
Controversial,
it's
but I
it's
think I agree.
Pearl up and down. What about you? Do you have a favorite character and a self-insert character?
I was skimming your notes while Kelly, my girlfriend, and I were like working on the thumbnail for last week, and sorry, I just heard a lot of noises from over there. Yeah, I was like, oh, Magellan says that they identify with Pearl. That makes a lot of sense, like considering how long I've known them. That makes perfect sense. And then she was like, well, who do you identify with? And I was like, well, in this pilot, and for a lot of Steven Universe, I'm like, I guess either like Steven or Amethyst, depending on the day, right?
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of Steven Universe, there's a character later on named Peridot, who I was like, oh
Yep.
no.
Yep. I love
Oh
Paradox so much.
no, I'm in this show and
Yeah.
I don't like it. But like Peridot finds, joy and happiness and the love of their life,
Mhm.
and so have I. So it's like kind of like, okay, I'm actually happy in the long term to feel like Peridot. And I'm just gonna say that.
uh, when because I watched the show with Amanda, um, and once we got to Peridot stuff, there it was just weeks and weeks of me being like, "You Claude,"
You
to
Claude.
Amanda
I
around the house.
love that so
You
much.
Claude.
Uh
Claudes. I also really love if I have to pick like a human, I love Sadie.
yeah.
I think
Oh yeah.
Sadie's arc in the show is so fun, and Kate Micucci is great as the voice of Sadie. But this is like Ed, Edd and Eddy, you get to meet everybody in the town, and everybody's character design and characterization, even if they're not a magical girl with cool powers, there's a lot of uniqueness and care put into the characters. So there's a whole handful of people that I love kind of visiting and spending time with.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all the gems, all of the Beach City people, the dad, the weird onion, like Lars.
Oh my god, Onion. Yeah.
Onion's so good.
Also, Steven's dad is like too much like my dad.
I remember you telling me that. You're like, this is
It's a
uncomfortable.
problem. It's a problem.
It's like, did you guys
Yeah.
take from my playbook? Like, what? You...
Yeah, leave me alone, please. Steven Universe, leave me
love
alone.
that. It's a show that we hold very dear and near to our hearts, and a lot of fans do as well. And I'm very excited for what is it, Lars of the Stars?
Yeah, there's a spinoff that's going to be starting soon, next couple of years, whenever.
Soon, TBA. Rebecca Sure has confirmed it's still in production. It's not dead.
Yeah.
I never loved Lars the most. I think he has an interesting arc, but I wasn't like, oh my god, I need a lot. He's not the character that I would have like died for a spinoff of, but like, I just want more Steven Universe stuff. I had my issues with Future up and down, but overall, I thought it was fine as an ending. Like it's solid. I want anything to reach the narrative heights of where Steven Universe's like later seasons go. I just want something to reach that like you do not know what you're in for when you sign up to watch this show, and the like narrative depth. Complicated characters, tragic arcs, family trauma, etc., etc., etc. So just give me that, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very good. I also agree, by the way, Kate Micucci, when I first recognized her voice, I was like, this person has been like in and out of my fandom since I was like a preteen, and is like still doing voice acting and TV. This is amazing. What else? Great theme song. The unaired pilot has the like full version of the theme song that Steven sings, which I
That's the
really
scene
liked.
that I watched, the one where he sings them the song. Yeah.
That's the best. I think that's the best scene in it. I think that song gets repurposed later because it's like she wrote it. Why would she not? And Zach Halson sang it. Yeah. I don't have any other big notes. Do you?
No, I don't think so. I think we should talk about well, first of all, we could program this if we were to air these in a 2-hour block of television. How would you sequence these shows?
Okay, I think I got it. Yeah. I think it's exactly the order that you put them in the summaries page. Okay, so it's Ed and Eddy. You start off. I
Yeah.
love Ed and Eddy as an early morning show. Like, oh, just like eating breakfast, some zany antics happening while I eat my cereal. We segue into regular show. Calm down a little bit,
Mhm.
settle. Let's see what the boys are up to. Oh, nothing fun? Okay, whatever. Sure. Okay, they got the power. That's great. I laughed at that. You're like in the mood to laugh.
Mhm.
Then,
Mhm.
hit me with Steven Universe. I need to know what's going on with the plot this week. Where are the characters? What song are we listening to? And then this is when, like, this is post. That's prime time. Steven Universe is prime time. Then you're post prime time. You're on like the 10 p.m. block or like the 10 a.m. block.
Mhm.
And you're like,
Mhm.
what is this? And it's Whatever Happened to Robot Jones. And you're like, wait, this is kind of good. And you end on like something that's very singular and very strange, but like interesting. I think
Mhm.
that is my programming block.
Yeah. I like that. I think I would do the same thing, but I would swap. I would put regular show first,
Okay, that's fair.
and then Ed and Eddy after that,
Uh huh.
because then it's sort of like regular show. In some ways, regular show. I mean, it's the title. Is regular show is like the most grounded of the four and the most connected to. This is an experience that I recognize,
Mm-hmm.
and then Ed and Eddy, Steven Universe, whatever happened to Robot Jones, are all these different kind of like we're gonna look at the emotional realities of being a kid, um, at different degrees of detachment, comedy versus I'm kind of sad about it, um,
Mm-hmm.
and in my mind, I only watched Whatever Happened to Robot Jones at night when I was a kid, so that
Yeah.
feels good to me that that's last in this block.
Mm-hmm.
Like there should not be sun outside when you're watching this show. Um, let's talk about how things are going to move forward or not. So we each get to pick one of these four to take ahead. Um, now, here's a thought that I'm going to throw out there.
Here comes a thought that might
Whatever
alarm you. Yeah.
yeah, that's a good song. Oh, Connie. Connie might be my self-insert character.
No, I'm
I
just
think.
nodding in agreement. I mean, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
It can be both.
it could be both. I mean, part of Connie's thing is that she like idolizes Pearl so
Exactly,
much,
exactly.
which is like, yeah, the thing. Um, so my thought is, whatever happened to Robot Jones is a 13 under 13,
Right.
which for folks who don't know, we have a side season that has come back, and we must pay our debts to the deep one with whom we made this bargain, that we want to watch 13 shows that were canceled before they aired their 13th episode. So whatever happened to Robot Jones would qualify for that. And
Mm-hmm.
then it doesn't even need to go through this bracket process. It can just gracefully bow out and we can just watch it in that other context when we feel like doing that.
Did you watch Mighty Supreme?
No, I did not watch Marty Supreme.
Can I tell you about a plot point towards the end of the movie?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not explicit. Marty Supreme, the character, loses a really important table tennis game, and then instead of quitting, gets invited to play in a like promotional game in Japan where he's supposed to lose to a Japanese player because it looks cool for diplomatic relations reasons. Except he doesn't want to lose because he's an asshole. I think that's what happens. Whatever happened to Robot Jones is like now you're going to be on the back of a cereal box and you're gonna be on your little junior kids bracket, the Burger King bracket.
So that's my pitch. Now, I think the way that this should work is um you could still pick whatever happened to Robot Jones as the one that you want to move forward. Like I don't think I can stop you from doing
You can try.
that. But that's just my what I think would be nice to happen.
Yeah.
And then otherwise we could just sort of like type our choices in the chat to each other and see if we pick the same thing, or I don't know. How do you want
Yeah.
to do it?
Flip a coin to see who gets to pick first. I
Oh,
think
sure.
yeah, I think
We
as
do it
this
that
gets
way.
more bloodthirsty, we have to like crystallize. There's a lot of the season that we still have to crystallize. I had someone ask me recently, they were like, I would really love if you could just show us the bracket. And I was like, There is none. When there is one, you guys will get it. We'll post it on Discord. I'll post it in the podcast description. It doesn't exist right now. But yes. Anyways, I think for fairness sake, we flip a coin. I think that's like kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that means the person gets first pick, not first cut, but first pick. It's only 4 shows a week, so this week it's gonna be really easy because I agree with you that we should cut Robot Jones and give it a 13 under 13, which means one of us gets a pick, the other one gets a pick, and we both know which one isn't gonna win already. So like, but let's flip a coin either way just to see who gets first pick. How about
that? That sounds good.
Okay, I'm gonna do it in its own tab, and I'm gonna do it for the video version to see, so that it's legally binding. All right, so here it is. Flip coin.
I'm tails. Tails never fails.
You're tails. Tails never fails. Got it. Okay. Wait. I thought you could just coin flip in Google. You can't do flip coin. You have to fucking Random.org. Coin flip. 2-sided coin. Yeah. Novelty coin. Yeah. That's what I want. Todd Reddit's decision maker. Flip it. You flip 2 coins of. This is so much work. I thought Google just let you do a coin flip. This is insane. Flip a coin.
Remember when you could just get it out of your pocket?
Okay, flip the coin. Here we go. It's flipping. It's tails. You get to pick first.
I did not want to go first.
Just keep something.
No, I know. This is tough because I was not so jazzed about Steven Universe just because I've seen it recently, but I really enjoyed talking about it just now, and symbolically I want to vouch for the show. But I was like so enchanted by Ed and Eddy. I think I gotta this time pick Ed and Eddy.
Okay, lock it in.
Yep, it's locked in.
One of the 2 shows that we will be discussing in 2 weeks is Ed and Eddy. Congratulations, you've made it past round 1. It's my turn?
Yeah.
You never finished Steven Universe Future. There's still a show for you to finish. We could talk about the spinoff while we talk about it. Yeah, put it in. Go ahead and put it in. Yeah.
And I haven't seen the movie either.
Oh my god! The movie's so interesting! There's a whole side character who's like ties into the main story plot just in the movie. Man, yeah, we gotta put. Okay, I'm picking Steven Universe for week 3. Let's do it.
Great. All right. Well, regular show. we salute you here.
You fought valiantly
this season. And whatever happened to Robot Jones? That's a great question. And when it comes back for 13 under 13, we'll get to have fun with that.
That's actually the perfect ending. Is Robot Jones to once again going like, wait, whatever happened to that show? Didn't they cover it? Oh, hey, a year later. Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. All righty. That's that. So next week we will then do the rest of our 8 members of the Cartoon Network Daytime Division, which are Adventure Time, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and Samurai Jack. That's going to be an interesting group.
That's a crazy bracket. That's a crazy bracket.
That is a nuts little quartet we have right there.
Yep.
So look forward for that next week.
Yes, indeed. Come on, grab your friends. We're going back. We got to go back to the past. And then the Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends theme song is instrumental, but it has a really good pilot. I think that show's going to hold up. Also, Courage the Cowardly Dog's insane. Every week we need one show that's like, it probably won't win, but we do need to watch and discuss it. And that's going to be Courage. I'm so excited. All right. Thank you, Magellan. Moving on. Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on another podcast that I do with my friend Justin called Super Smash Echoes, where we play video games related to the Super Smash Brothers franchise. Super Smash Echoes. Check it out. You can also find me on Blue Sky at notthatmagellan.bsky.social and on Ghost at not-that-magellan.ghost.io. Alan, what about you? Woo, 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 woo.
Woo, woo. Oh, I grossed myself out. You can listen to me on The Creature Corner, which is a Pokemon podcast I do on scanlinemedia.com with my friend Six Detmar. We talk about Pokemon, the Kanto video games. We've had Magellan on. We've reviewed Pokemon. We reviewed monsters from Monster Hunter. We do Pokemon news. We talk about our teams and champions, all sorts of cool stuff. That's the big one. I'm also on the Garden Wager, also on ScalyMedia.com, and I'm on Blue Sky at Aebrahim, AIBRAHIM. This is the plug zone for the whole show, and it's an odd episode, so I think I should do it.
Do it.
Okay. You can email us questions, comments, and concerns at chatspod@gmail.com. The show's Blue Sky is at chatspod, CHATZPOD. And if you want to support us, you can do it in a couple of ways. We're on YouTube, where we release full video versions of the podcast 2 days after the main feed audio release. That's Chatz, the television podcast on YouTube. Give us a follow. You can see Magellan's amazing Simpsons shirt. That's right. We have a lot of Simpsons fans, and you get to see that incredible shirt. I'm not going to describe it, so that I encourage you to check out the YouTube version. We are also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, where you can rate and review us to get the algorithm recommending us to people. And lastly, you can support us financially at Patreon, patreon.com/chatspod. $1, $3, and $5 a month. We have tiers that get you bonus content and get you the ability to suggest us things every month that we cover on the Patreon, whether it's shows, movies, games, books, what have you. We're covering the Star Trek 25th anniversary game for the month of May, thanks to patron Emrys, so you can hear that at the end of the month. $5 a month gets you all the things I just told you, and a thank you at the end of main feed episodes of the pod. So as of today, thank you to fiance of the podcast, Amanda, Arthur, Emily, Emrys, Felicia, Jen, Justin, girlfriend of the podcast, Kelly, Kurt, Kyrie, Lee, Marcus, Magellan. I'm turning into the Smash Brothers announcer. Magellan's mom, MP, Nick of the Brothers at Infinite War, Noel, Six, and Stefan. Only thing keeping me from being the Smash Brothers announcer is that I'm not being weird when I say women's names and going like Peach, Daisy, you fucking freak.
Success.
No contest. Thank you to Camilla. She's active illustrator. She did our podcast art, that little 90s themed jam that you saw at the top of the app. Follow Camilla Strader on social media. And lastly, we have Chatzums for you. Real quick, we recommend you things to enjoy between now and next week. Magellan, what is or are your Chatzums?
I have a music Chatsum, I think. This is an album that came out a few years ago, but this band has one that's coming out next month. The Strokes.
Whoa.
They're putting out a new album next month. But they had one, I think it was in 2020, and maybe a song of it got to me then, but I have been listening to some of it lately, and it's so good. It's called The New Abnormal. And even just the first two songs, The Adults Are Talking and Selfless, are great tunes. But the whole thing is like classic Strokes. But like they're adults. Yeah, I think 2020 was a weird year. It came out April 10th, 2020. So, makes sense that we might have missed it.
Selfless is my second favorite Strokes song and one of my favorite songs, like ever. Selfless is like an incredible song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love it.
Song. Yeah. What about you? What's your Chatzum?
Ode to the Mets is on that album as well. That's a great one.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Big co-Chatzum, The New Abnormal. Great album. I tried to see them, to get tickets to see them live for this next tour. It's already so expensive. I'm sad about it. Anyways, my Chatzum is a new HBO drama that is currently 4 episodes in. It's a British 6-part drama called Half Man. And it was created by Richard Gadd, who listeners may know from the show Baby Reindeer. He's a Scottish writer and actor, and Half Man is his newest series, his little mini series. It's really hard to describe in detail. I will say I'm loving the show. This was recommended to me by a coworker who may or may not be listening to this episode. Hi to you if you're listening. You know who you are. DM me if you are. Because he was like, you got to watch this. And he goes, we cannot talk about it on work time. This is a very heavy, dark show that is like inappropriate to talk about on work time, which is why I'm like struggling to describe it. Essentially, we have this guy, Niall, and he has a stepbrother named Ruben who has been in and out of his life since he was 8 years old. And they have a very, very toxic parasocial relationship that is rooted in like repressed queerness and masculinity, and like toxic masculinity. And the show bounces back and forth between Niall's wedding day and different parts of their growing up together, and how they sort of crash into each other's lives, a la Netflix's Beef or other like miniseries that are just about two people. In that way, it's very theatrical. It reminds me of a play. It's like, and now we're this old. It is brilliantly acted. I mean, you've got Richard Gadd himself playing the toxic brother Ruben, and then you have Jamie Bell as the like waifish writer, but like in theory kind-hearted, but not really protagonist. This is a really sad show that is about sad topics, but I'm the type of person that likes shows that handle heavy themes and can handle them well, because it lets me not think about my own life for a little while. I have no idea how it's going to end, but as of episode 4, I was like, okay, I see that you're working towards something bigger. So if you start it and you're like, this is just misery, it's like, they're kind of getting somewhere. I know people have their mixed feelings about Baby Reindeer. I didn't watch it. My girlfriend really liked it, so I guess I could co-chat some Baby Reindeer. But yeah, Half Man, HBO. They're promoting it hard. Go into it knowing it's really fucked up, and there's like some sexual stuff and some violent stuff that might be too much for you. But if that's something you're okay with and you're willing to like sit with it, I think it's brilliantly performed, and it's telling a really thought-provoking story. That's what I'm going to say. Half Man is the show.
Half Man.
Anyways, that's it for Toon Couch Toon Madness this week. Thank you to Magellan for being my boink 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 boink.
Hubba hubba.
We just watched that episode a couple days ago. It's so good. Thank you so much for listening to Toon Couch Toon Madness. Stay toony.